I think it's time to get started. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh, hi, everyone. My name is Joe. I am in Venice, California, Los Angeles, and I am so excited to be here. Wow, this is incredible. Um, I thought what we could all do, just because it's part of my practice, is that maybe we can come together in the room as we allow it to fill up a little bit more and just do some meditation, do a little bit of breath work just for about 5 minutes and just kind of center ourselves wherever we are. Obviously, if you're out in a boat, uh, then maybe you can just bring your awareness with us. But if you're not and you would like to, just come sitting up wherever you are and allow your eyes just to gently close. And just begin to draw your external focus onto an internal focus. And just allow your breath to fill the space. You can breathe in through the nose. You can exhale through the mouth if you like. Again, gently just breathing in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Last time, just take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, just place your awareness here with us now, together in this community. Finding your internal state of being, resting in that just for a moment. I know for a lot of us, it's sometimes a little challenging. And without judgment, just allowing that internal state just to be, so that we begin to be congruent with our internal state and our external state. Finding some connection. Resting on the fact that we are here together in this community, and that our strength travels out far and wide, just like our breath and just like our awareness. Everybody take a nice, deep, delicious breath in. And exhale. Good. Wherever you are, just shake your body just for a moment. At your level of comfort, you can just open your eyes. Woo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday. Maybe it might be a different day wherever you are, whatever day that is. Welcome to that. Whether it's night, welcome to that. My name is Joe LeMieux. I'm a person on the path of recovery and discovery, and I am so delighted to be here with you all. I am just when Tommy asked me to speak, um, if my first initial reaction was I have nothing to say. That's the internal dialogue right away was I have nothing to say. I have nothing to offer. I just want to stay home and eat potato chips and watch Netflix. Why do I have to be seen? This is what goes through. But what I heard myself say was, yes, absolutely. Which is also what I've learned on this path, is to continue to show up, continue to be of service, and continue to say yes, even though it might be uncomfortable. And also, learning to say no, which I would say more so nowadays is a much more challenging practice, is to say no, because I'm a person who has struggled and continues to be challenged by codependency. So, I'll talk a little bit about my story around all of that. But I also want to just welcome everybody wherever you are, whether you have, 1 minute, 1 day, you're still in it, or you've got 100 years. Welcome. I get all of it. Whether you're not even really sure, I get that. Whether you are sure, I'm also hip to that as well. It's just really good to be in a community of us, and I know that I'm home because the second I get on these calls, the second I get to a meeting, the second I talk to anybody in recovery, whether they have time or not, I feel a connection. And I think that that's what I was always searching for, was my community. And I feel closer to that now than I ever have. The title of this talk is called A Hipster's Guide to Healing. Do I call myself a hipster? I don't really know. I just love that title because, as I was thinking about things to say, what to say, my first initial reaction was like embodiment and recovery for the addict, and then like I went on the panelist thing and like somebody had already taken it. I was like, all right. Breath by breath, you can get sober one day in the, and then I like looked on that shit. It was like all of these like awesome like antidotes that I thought I had already been taken. And I was like what is how about me? Like what am I actually doing here? And I kind of feel like I am on the Hipster's Guide to Recovery and Healing, which is like I'm just like a down to try whatever, to get to be on this path with you all. Like I'm really at this point like just down for whatever. Breath work, meditation, yoga, Pilates, like if it's rad and I'm like can get into my body around it and people are doing it like in recovery, then like I'm down. And so like I kind of wanted this not one size fits all recovery concept that has been offered here, through Recovery 2.0 through Tommy. That it's just this all encompassing idea of recovery, because when I first got into recovery, I thought it was over. I was like, it's over. The party stopped. There will be no party. That was the party. And now I'm just gonna be boring and dull and I'm gonna have no life, which was the story that I was selling myself every time I would get high, get loaded and whatever. So I grew up Huntington Beach, California, SoCal. My mom was an addict, in recovery, but I grew up in an alcoholic home. So I have ACA. I definitely identify as an adult child of an alcoholic. There was a tremendous amount of violence growing up. My mom was just, while she was in it, abusive, manipulative, and it was toxic, and whether or not that makes me an alcoholic, I really don't know. But it sure didn't help. And so, when I was 6, about 7, she married this other guy. You know, he had a son. This son had very poor boundaries and began molesting me from the age of 7 to 10. And so I had then, on top of whatever else was going on at home with the ACA stuff, I had some sexual trauma that basically just put like a cap around me. Like it was like an iceberg, like just encapsulated me. And I just went dark, completely shut off. Like, you know, my heart chakra, everything just shut down. And I carried that lie, you know, perpetuated this like deep, deep shame around what had happened, pretty much my whole life. And now whether or not that makes me an alcoholic, again, I don't know. I don't think it helped. And so I carried that, you know, I carried that shame with me, that toxic shame with me up until I was about 35, 36. And I found myself, I'm 45 now, at about 36 years old, I found myself struggling, you know. The inner dialogue at that point was, I am such a piece of trash. I am worthless. I should just die. You know, that was the internal dialogue. And the outer manifestation of that was, you know, weed, alcohol, Xanax, you know, whiskey, prescription medications came onto the scene because what was happening internally was so dark that I couldn't shut it off with alcohol anymore. I started using prescription meds, doing things that I never said I would do. And on August 9th, I went on a 4-day blackout. And when I woke up on Monday morning, I was basically woken out of this blackout and said, oh my God, you know, like what has happened? Like, I don't know what's happening. I can't do this anymore. And I did something that I'd never done before, which is that I called somebody and I asked for help. And for me, it was especially important because I called another man. And because of my trauma, I had no real relationships with men, you know. Relationships with women, no problem. But with men, I was shut off and I didn't want anything to do. And it was just this kind of facade of what I wanted you to perceive, which is called the persona, right? My persona was of a person who was, you know, spiritual, got it together, all good, but the shadow aspects of me were creeping out hard. And by that last blackout, shadow had completely taken over and engulfed me. And, you know, like I said, I called somebody and I said, I need help. And, you know, that person invited me into his home and he had a big book and he showed me the big book and he said, you know, I want you to start reading this. And at the time I was like, well, I don't think this is going to help. I really didn't. I did not think it was going to help. And I also didn't think I was an alcoholic. And that's important because I speak to a lot of people who get jammed up thinking that they have to like fully concede right off the bat. Fully concede. And if they don't fully concede right off the gate, then that must mean something. And I see them go out and come back and go out and come back. And so I really do want to speak to that. Like when I came in at the very, you know, for the first year, didn't think that I had a problem or was an alcoholic. I just thought I had bad circumstances. And what I started doing was I started working the 12 steps. I started working the program. That was my entry point. And got about 5 years of recovery doing the 12 steps solely. Also, though, I was doing recovery 2.0 because that person who had welcomed me into his home and sat in front of me with the big book was Tommy Rosen. And he had been mentioning this thing, Recovery 2.0. And so I started working for Recovery 2.0 pretty much, you know, 8 or 9 months, you know, editing videos, watching all the footage of the speakers. So I was surrounded by recovery. not only from the 12 steps, but, speakers, Dr. Gabor Mate, Russell Brand, like just getting all this information, all these speakers, right? And I got to about 5 years, even with all that around me, and I relapsed. And so I also really love talking about that relapse because, I think for that first 5 years, I had to like kind of thaw out of the story. But what I wasn't able to fully drop was the persona. And people who knew me in that 5 years, they knew that there was something off. They couldn't figure out what it was. Like I was always kind of projecting this thing, but never really letting people fully in to like see these parts of myself that I had deemed shadow and unsellable. And so I relapsed because that story, the internal truth was still, I'm a piece of junk, I'm trash, I'm no good. And my external story was, I'm in recovery, I'm doing great, I work for Tommy, I'm in recovery 2.0, I got all these speakers, and it wasn't aligned. And so I was out of alignment, which creates tension and creates depression. And I went back. I went back to the only thing I knew, which was to drink and use. And it, when I think about it, it makes sense. Of course I would, I hadn't really conceded. And it happened very quickly, and it wasn't like a glorious relapse. It was pretty quick. It was, I was only out for about 2 weeks, but it got bad very quick. It escalated very quickly, as it does. And when I came back, literally the moment I stepped back into recovery, which for me at that point, and still was the 12 steps. That's my main practice, is the 12 steps. That's my foundation. When I stepped back into a meeting, the moment I came back, I knew why I relapsed. I knew that I hadn't fully dropped the story. I knew that I hadn't fully admitted how I felt about myself and the shame and the guilt. And so I started sharing about it right as I came back. I started like getting real and started allowing people to see under the persona, really beginning to like bring out those like shadow parts. And a lot of the work that I do now, mostly the work that I do now, I'm an acting teacher, is around integrated shadow. Because for me, the awareness that the persona was even there was not even in my awareness. I had no idea that I was just projecting this image. And once I became aware of what the persona was, and then once I became aware of what these parts of myself that I had deemed shadow parts, and started integrating them lovingly through inner child work, through, inner loving parent work, which, by the way, when somebody said inner loving child, I was like, I was just so like this. I was like, what? Like, ew, like, oh God, what do you mean inner loving? What am I gonna sit there with like a teddy bear and like, like talk to my inner child? And now it's like, it's so funny because now it's like the base of what I do is this inner loving, and it's transformational, it's transformational, and this integrated shadow work is transformational, and just becoming aware of the persona is transformational. And so I guess what I want to say is, I came back, this was about 3 years ago. I came back, I started really in meetings specifically, and with people in recovery, I really started dropping the persona, and allowing people to see like the real vulnerability, to see the real shame, the real insecurity, the real sadness. And it's interesting because those are the parts that I thought people would be like, ew. And it's the parts that connect me to people the most. Those are the parts that people want to see the most. And so I spent a lot of time integrating those things and helping people bring those out into the light. And I know it works because I see the lights come on in people when they start to reveal their like, deep, dark secrets, very much like the 8th and 9th step. And you see them like clearing this like part of themselves, and their lights come on and they're just like transformed. And none of that, by the way, is possible without recovery. When I relapsed, my biggest fear was that I would lose Tommy as a friend and as a mentor, and that I would lose my friend Ruby as a friend and mentor, who were both, recovery. And what ended up happening was that at that time when I relapsed, they came closer to me. They surrounded me with love. And so I want to wrap up by saying that, today I am so surrounded with unconditional love and, compassion. Even through all of the ups and the downs, the relapse, like no judgments. And so I am a vehicle, I'm a vessel for that as well. If anybody's struggling, if you've relapsed and are not sure, I get it. I get all of it. And what I've learned here in this community, Recovery 2.0, and through the 12 steps is to come together and surround people with unconditional love. That's what I've learned here. And I'm so honored. I'm so grateful that not only are you here, but that you've chosen to spend your time with us today. And I hope that, what I've said brought some peace to you, opened up something for you, and at the very least sparked a conversation. That is my hope. And I am surrounding all of you, wherever you are out in the world, whether you're here or not. I'm surrounding you with so much love. And I hope that you have the most amazing day. And let's do this, y'all. How about we just take one moment together and just close our eyes wherever you are. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. Maybe you want to just leave them open while you're driving. You don't want any, or you're, walking, you're shopping, whatever you're doing. Let's just take a moment together and draw our experience in together. And let's just surround everybody on the call today, wherever you are in the world, with so much love, so much light. Inhaling and then exhaling. Thank you all so much for your beautiful energy. I'm just so thrilled to be here with you, and so much gratitude.